and that is basically
Thank you very sincerely, dear viewer, for keeping face with us right here, Western Spring Television. I am delighted to make a return on the bookshelf. Each time I leave, it feels like it's forever sometimes before coming back on. And sometimes it feels like, we just had the bookshelf for 2 hours ago. So, depending on however it is, I'm always delighted to be back on set to be doing justice to the bookshelf, the platform where we get to discuss with, relate with, have conversations around everyone and everything that has a relationship with books. My name is Damilola Raphael. I am honored to be called your teaching and learning advocate. Remember, the mandate for the year, the watchword for the year, what has been guiding us through this new season of the bookshelf, and that is to complete a book. So whether it is that you're reading, whether it is that you're writing, whether it is that you borrowed, whether it is that you're delivering, whether it is that you're publishing, you're typing, you're printing, you have something to do with a book and it's in process with you. And the truth is that the book is always in a process. So that it is in a process with you, whether you have to be the one to disseminate information. Shout out to those of you who created book clubs, online platforms, groups, on different social media platforms where you get to discuss, and then of course you review books as part of what you do. Some of these groups are not strictly book clubs, as it were, but then again they found a way to bring in books to the conversation. So you have to discuss maybe a chapter or a part. Sometimes you have books in parts, right? Okay, so you have to discuss a part or particular page to particular page, whatever it is. As long as a book is in process with you, then you have a responsibility to deliver to the next person who definitely would be needing it. Please complete a book. We require, I'm pleading with you that you will to complete a book. So let's go ahead to do justice today. We are going to be having a book review. We're going to be looking at new words, and of course, I'll be bringing you EduGist. So this particular name has been hovering around for months. I promise. Sometimes some of the products we bring in, some of the information we get to serve you on the bookshelf could just be spontaneous, and some other times it's, in fact, a lot of the times it goes through the process of incubation. To be in for months, we're pregnant with that information, trying to keep it right there, incubate, as it was, allow it to really, really incubate so it could develop properly, and then we serve you full gist. Okay, so this particular author, we've had one of his books. It's right here. It has seen good days. I was thinking I wasn't going to show you this book. Maybe I should not. It has seen good days, I promise. It is the author's first book, actually. Let's leave it at that. But today we're going to be reviewing his second book released in the year. That one too has seen good days. 4 years is not small, though. It's not moi moi like they call it. This one is about 2013. That should be like 12 years now. Yeah. The other one is 2021. So let's talk about the author, and then I'll go to review the book. I'll be reviewing chapter 4, and then remember, while we're doing the review, we are going to be taking on new words. So if you find me, just going this way, raising my index finger, it means we've come across a new word. One of the challenges I found is that when we read, we assume knowledge of the interpretation of the meaning of a particular word, because, okay, so we've seen it somewhere and we're using it in that context, which may not be right with this particular context it's being used. The fact that something is new does not mean it's strange. It could just mean something coming to you in a different way, appealing to you in a different format than it appealed to you in the previous way or format that you experienced it. That's just funny. So let's go ahead and then we'll talk about the author and we'll move on into reviewing the book. Medical doctor and ophthalmologist A.H. Mohammed. He was born in Lagos, Nigeria. He obtained his medical degree from the University of Lagos and had his residency at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital. Described as a candid chronicler in the narrative landscape of contemporary young adult fiction, he was previously shortlisted for the Macmillan Wright for Africa Prize, and his much-loved The Last Days at Forcados High School, which happens to be his debut, has been on the UTME DE required reading in Nigeria. So that's the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination or the direct entry, right? It's required right there. So we'll be going on now, and I'm just going to be taking an excerpt, you know, from the book, his second book, and the title of his second book, you already saw the picture, is I Was a Teen Rock Star. And should I give more details? Is it really a spoiler like that? It's, you know, from talking about someone who moved from being a school dropout to becoming a rock star. So the title of the book is I Was a Teen Rock Star. Let's just take an excerpt right there, looking at chapter 4. He had planned an excuse for his aunt and uncle. I have to go back to school on a project. I may be rather late. Auntie Alimat had snorted. So we are having some new words right there. That the second new word is snorted. So please keep looking at my finger. Well, that's your own affair. Although I don't know why it had to be conveniently in the evening. Not that you're much good in the shop anyway. I'm sorry, Auntie, he said, concealing his rising excitement. He hadn't imagined she would let him go, but then he had never asked for permission to stay behind in school. Well, I have to say, no food for you. I should remind you that your mother hasn't sent money recently. I don't know why I tolerate you despite your bad behavior. Going to his room, he had a shower. He was going to a party. Coming out of the bathroom with his towel tied round his waist, he rummaged through his wardrobe, which consisted of his school uniform and a few faded shirts and jeans. Before, his mother used to send fancy T-shirts, but Auntie Alimat usually sees them and sold them for his upkeep. So before we go ahead and continue this particular storyline, the viewer, it has to be a very, very quick break. I need to take a breather. On the other side of the breather, we'll be continuing with the excerpt of this book. We'll look into some of our new words, and of course, I'll be giving you the education. Stay with us.
Our comedy is winning fans globally, but we are losing our wildlife to illegal bushmeat, and this is not funny at all. If we continue this way, we'll risk losing all our animals and live.
Thank you very much for keeping faith with us. You are welcome back. Let us proceed now into reading further into the excerpt of the book, I Am a Rock Star. Moving on. Okay, so that chapter 4, I'll read this next paragraph. Whistling, he put on the cleanest shirt and jeans he could find with his school sandals and went out. He was rather hungry, but at least there would be food at the party, he supposed. He stopped at Silver Springs to pick up his guitar. Then, carefully looking out for people who might recognize him, he went by another route to catch a bus. He was going to a party. He hummed to himself, already composing a ditty in his head. I'm going to a party. I'm not going to compose, I'll just read. Look, the singing name for the singing people. I'm going to a party. I'm going to a feast full of laughter and wonderful beats. He only realized just in time that he had reached his bus stop. The scruffy bus conductor shot him a dirty look, muttering about people who slept while on the buses. At the stop, he took an Okada to the entrance of Palm Gardens. It cost more than he had anticipated. The whole journey had, in fact, and he realized he didn't have enough money to get home. Well, Benji would sort him out, he hoped. It was dark now, almost 8 o'clock. He hoped Benji wouldn't be too annoyed he was rather late. After all, he was the guest of honor. I'm going to a party. Palm Gardens estate consisted of several large houses shrouded in large trees and surrounded by a huge wall. It looked majestic and forbidding. As he made to enter the main gate, a voice barked from a shed at the entrance. Patu! An elderly uniformed security man was sitting inside. He looked Larry up and down with obvious contempt. For the first time, Larry became conscious of how he must appear wearing a faded grey t-shirt and scruffy jeans with dusty sandals and carrying a large case. I said, where to, boy? I'm going to Benji, the hostess house. Why? Wait till you carry, go there. For his party. The man eyed him again. I'm his classmate, Larry Bandele, he said hastily. He hoped he wasn't cringing under the security man's obsidian gaze and added with a flash of inspiration, I am a musician playing at the party. Have a look. He opened the case to reveal the guitar, then shook the case. That's all. The man made a spitting sound. I see. Do you know his house number? The way there? Yes, it's number 21. He hoped he was correct. That was what he dimly remembered Benji telling him. With another hostile glare, the man grudgingly motioned Larry to enter. Benji's house was easy to find. It was a large duplex with a wide front garden. An imposing cycad palm sprang from the grassy center, bordered with scarlet ixora and gold mound bushes. Larry gazed around as he made his way with trepidation along a pebbly path. How different this was from number 11 Adelaide Street. He had a sudden urge to run away. His excitement at going to a party was already dissipating. He didn't belong here. The security man had made that clear. It was dark. He was late. He could hear the music blaring from inside the house. Well, it was too bad. He'd promised. And how would Benji feel if he let him down? They were probably waiting for him, the musician, for the night. Pushing out his lip, he knocked at the door, which gave way until it was half open. The hallway was dimly lit. People were inside the living room while the music played. Some turned to look at him. Boys wearing smart tops and boots. Girls dressed in short, fancy numbers. They stared at him half incredulously. He was right. He should have run away. Scanning desperately around for a familiar face in the hazy atmosphere, he was about to turn to leave when Benji walked over with a bandana tied around his head. Hey, hey, you're here. He turns to everyone. This is our artist for the night. Then back to Larry. Cool. You brought your guitar. Now come. He steered Larry away and up the staircase. Upstairs, he opened the door to a room consisting of just a bed and nothing else. Just wait here. Be with you in a minute. Then closing the door firmly, he left. Voices, music, and laughter floated from below. He could hear snatched words. He actually came. Tokwe was laughing. He would recognize that hee-hawing sound anywhere. Benji was saying something inaudibly. Larry stood in the dark room, then sat on the bed, trying to gather his thoughts. He felt increasingly self-conscious and panicky. What is happening? After a few minutes, his ears started to make out some of the conversation better. He could identify some more voices from Regional High, that's the name of the Uzo, Taiwo. A female voice said, just look at how he was dressed. Well, for it, you win. It was Tokwe. You win? Was this some sort of bet? After a little while, Benji came upstairs holding a paper cup. Want some fun? Benji, what exactly is happening? Do you want me to play? Oh, yes, of course. A little later, he held out the cup of punch. Come on, have a drink. Larry accepted the cup and took a sip. What am I supposed to do here then? You want to join us downstairs? Well, nothing is happening here. In time, but he realized what had happened. Of course, dumb Larry, he almost wanted to cry. Brought me here to laugh at me. Benji! Larry stood up and moved towards the door. I'm going home. Thank you very much for inviting me. No, of course not. I want you to play. Benji reached out for his arm. Larry's sorrow was turning to anger. He brushed off Benji's arm angrily. Doesn't look like it. Benji grabbed his shoulders. Please stay. Come with me. Let's go downstairs. He knew he should leave and say something like, to heck with you all. But he found himself going down the staircase and taking a seat in the corner. It was dark, with colored lights flashing from bulbs at intervals. Ear-splitting music from a huge sound system blared. The widest flat-screen television Larry had ever seen hung from the wall, displaying a soundless program. People were huddled on the sofa, on the chairs, and plush stools talking. He could make out Dio wearing a colorful, shiny dress and looking very grown-up and different with makeup and elaborately curled hair, laughing in the corner with some of their schoolmates from regional high. He'd sipped from cups or ate snacks, giggling and sometimes muttering inanities, giving out silly laughs. He had never felt so lonely or out of place before. He drained his punch cup. Benji kept refilling it. He wanted to say no thanks, but he kept accepting more and more. So these were parties. He became like a blur after a while. First, there was a game called Spin the Bottle. Outrageous dares. Nobody asked him to join in. He became aware figures were dancing, provocatively grinding on each other. He pictured suddenly what Auntie Alimat would think. Hellfire! There was a lot of talking now and drinking. The laughter and talking seemed to become louder and more inane. Suddenly, he smelled cigarette smoke. He could hear Benji saying, hey, no smoking, guys. My pops will get mad if he discovers. He clutched and stroked his guitar woozily. Guest of honor. Yes, indeed. Tokwe shouted, oh, what about the musician for the night? Then he collapsed onto the sofa, laughing and laughing. Another person stared at him. He looked older, definitely not a secondary school kid. Darkly handsome, with a hairstyle consisting of plaited cornrows. Muscular arms protruded from a sleeveless net top. Earrings glinted in his ears. He gave the impression of being dangerous in an attractive way. You play, man? He said, gesturing his thumb at Larry. He says he does. Tokwe brayed from the sofa. Come on, let's hear you then. What's your name? From somewhere, a leading voice that didn't sound like his came. Larry. Then he giggled. Let's hear you. And then, suddenly he roared. Everybody quiet. Larry is playing. The speakers went off on command. Larry, Larry. Everybody started chanting. He could see some of the kids from school looking at him bright-eyed. Benji smiled at him encouragingly. Dio was clapping along too, looking shimmering and beautiful. Oh, what the heck? Woozily, he moved to the center of the room, dimly aware of Tokwe with his brightly mocking gaze. And then, for the first time in his life, he knew he didn't care. He felt dizzier and woozier. Someone had put an empty stool in the center of the living room for him. He plopped on it awkwardly, almost sliding off, then regained his balance. Good heavens, is this what people call being tipsy? Cradling the guitar across the lap, he straightened up. It was surprising even to him that he didn't feel scared. He reached for and rubbed his fingers along the familiar taut strings. Ah, good. The room was completely silent now. Then he started and struck a false note. A ripple of laughter burst across the room. So, Tokwe started. Ignoring him, Larry sat up straight. Again, I have always known this. The music, it is my life. He gave himself a mental shake. At that very moment, he could picture Uncle Banky, full of peace and love, blessed by Jah. With a deep breath, he started again. Now, the twang that emerged was rich and musical. He started on Redemption Song, his personal favorite. Timorously at first, then gradually becoming louder and louder, the music wrapping around him like a magic starlit blanket, giving him confidence, peace, and love. He belted out the first two verses, and then the rest of the party chorused loudly in unison, completing the next verse. Then the song was over. He looked around at the now amazed and smiling eyes. Benji was clapping. I could just go on and on and on and on, moving from Bob Marley medley, he went to country, adding in Led Zeppelin. I mean, reading that whole excerpt from chapter 4, if you have been following my finger prompts, you should have written quite a number of new words from my prompts, and of course from what you may not be so sure of, because some of these words are homonyms. So they sound like, okay, did she mean this or did she mean this? We'll be coming to discuss that on another episode of The Bookshelf. For today, I just wanted to introduce us to how you could come across new words and then highlight them. Or if the book, the material does not belong to you, you cannot highlight it, then you just go ahead, you write it out, and then you take time. That's how you build your vocabulary. You take time to look up the meaning of those words, and then you write it out so that you do not make errors next time, understanding the context in which these words can function. For instance, some of them function as verbs, some of them function as nouns, some of them function as adjectives. Yes, a particular word can come up and function in all these different categories, what we call parts of speech. Okay. Personally, I wrote about 84 new words. Now, not because these words are new to me, but because, hey, they are new to us. We're doing this together, so they're new to us. I wrote 84 new words personally. So I couldn't do 84 within the time frame that I have for Bookshelf for this episode. So the next time we're coming in, we're looking at these new words and looking at ways to make it more interesting for you to learn new words. I should give you some edu gist before I wrap it up on the Bookshelf for today. What's my edu gist? It's talking about, I don't know what you call it these days, but we used to call it Baba Waek. We met it being called Baba Waek. We picked it up from there. I don't know what maybe you call it Grandpa Waek. And he's talking about some of the challenges with regards WAEC, the results, and all of that. I wish I could give you the whole full gist. But by the time you check out results, updates, and all that, it should be able to bring in some of these details, looking at some of the other platforms or websites, as it were, or blogs that would have discussed them, and you can read more on them. I don't want to give credence to a particular newspaper, otherwise I could just have mentioned a particular newspaper, but I mean, feels like what, so that when next I'm using some people's materials, I don't get flagged. Okay, so the results have been released, and there was a lot of fear as touching, oh, so we are scared we are going to fail, but the results are actually better than the previous results because of some glitches right there at the West African Examination Council end. And that's about it on EduGist for today. Thank you very much for following through this episode of The Bookshelf. I look forward to the next and the next and the next and the next and more inspiring installments of the show. Do not forget, it's not just about hearing, it's about doing, it's about becoming. My name is Damika Raphael, a teaching and learning advocate. I'm saying it's goodbye and God bless.